thing that popped off with Just Hilarious 2 or 3 weeks ago about who owns periods. Now, I don't think the entirety of that is about menstruation. I think it's about the overall war against females' reality, and menstruation was just one aspect of that. But I purposely waited until things cooled down before I decided to run my mouth about it. And the dudes are just as bad as the chicks I'm about to talk about, but the dudes, I'll get to them towards the end of the video. Now, I'm going to show y'all something, but if you want to see it without my censor on it, it'll be in the description box, and I'm going to call it Manuel Abortion. And I blurred it all the way out, but I'm going to describe for you what this dude is doing. And I forgot where the full version of it is, so I'll have to use the one that InfoWars clipped from the full version. But I still blurred it out, and like I said, it'll be in the description box with the timestamp. And I suppose it won't be too long before YouTube starts blocking Rumble links. Now, Weirdo is doing some type of striptease, and he's wearing a harness of some kind. And this harness, it's to simulate a womb. A pregnant one. Weirdo reaches into this harness and starts pulling out the umbilical cord. And at the end of the umbilical cord, of course, the baby pops out and there's blood and all that, right? And he's playing in the blood and all the rest of this stuff.
Cry a little cry, we'll convert your children. Then we'll turn to you, giving all the fear inside is freeing like you never knew.
No wonder they were so interested in protecting abortion rights. Right? But I played that as a demonstration or a way to depict the level of devilishment in the current movement that we see going on. Right? Never mind the abortion thing I mentioned, because that's how they feel about humans as a species. Right? And I'm not even really talking about the trans gay thing either, because they're only representative of the few. You know, Klaus Schwab, NATO, World Health Organization, Rothschilds, World Economic Forum, those people, you know, people like that. I call them the few. Human beings are on the menu. Never mind the male or female thing where I see people yelling, they're targeting men and boys. No, they're targeting women and girls. The dudes, this is an attack on masculinity. Then the females say, no, this is an attack on femininity. Look, the demonology we see going on cares not for their being male or female. They want to mess all of that up, do away with all of it. They don't even like humans as a species. Meanwhile, each group, male and female, try to make it all about themselves, even though we're being shown that the few has no regard for humanity in general. You see this boy? This is a boy. But the people who sometimes operate behind the veil of being feminists, and they're not feminists, they're actually misanders that hate men and boys. But these people will often cloak themselves with feminists. They'll see this boy and say that this is an attack on girls, while looking at this boy, they will refuse to see that this is a dual attack on male and female here. To perpetuate this false image of the world evolving around females, therefore what's going on is for the purposes of just targeting females. And they'll even conjure up these silly non-factual scenarios like this is only happening to women and girls because we don't see women trying to barge in on men and boys.
Wrong. Wrong.
This is a woman. Yeah. About to box a man. Had several previous fights scheduled and all of them canceled as soon as the dudes found out that this was a woman. This is the World Wide Web where a simple search would let these fake feminists know not to even conjure up that scenario about how females are not trying to barge in on men and boys. And that this is all about targeting females. That's not true. Remember the clip I played a few times? Some of y'all remember the clip I played a few times of Lionel interacting with one of these crazies. I can't have it for you in the description box because Lionel, he put it on private. What about the boys? That was a good question.
This is insane. And by the way, Scouts, BSA, what do you think the BSA is? It's like here in the States, KFC. We know what it is. This goes to show you how there was an absolute determined effort to destroy whatever was left of this thing called gender. It's now considered almost like racist or inappropriate to do anything to distinguish boys from girls.
Kate.
And it is over with. This is the most stupid thing I've heard in I don't know how long, but I'm sure it'll be topped very shortly.
I don't think you think the same way about this, Kate Smurthwaite. What's your view? Good idea or bad? People should be made to feel comfortable. If they want to join it, why not?
Well, it's a really interesting situation. Actually, if you look at the kind of science of it, where do young people do best? It turns out, perhaps surprisingly, perhaps unsurprisingly, that girls seem to thrive better in single-sex environments for things like that, but boys actually seem to thrive better in mixed environments. It seems like having some girls join in maybe takes away some of the sort of laddie culture, if you like. It's not entirely clear why these things are true. Personally, I think there's a lot to be said for giving girls a kind of space of their own. We know that there are differences in the kind of, for example, the kind of role models that boys and girls are exposed to. So when we do get mixed gender groups, what can often happen is that the boys have more confidence, they've been brought up on action heroes, and the girls can get sidelined a bit. So I guess I have a lot of sympathy with the Girl Scouts organisation who are saying, hey, you know, this has worked well for us in the past. I mean, what I don't want, of course, is, you know, for the Girl Scouts all to do sewing and knitting and the boys to get to climb mountains. I mean, I think that is very much an outdated construct. I think we all know that there are plenty of girls who'd like to climb mountains. But for me, I'm not sure that the perfect solution is just to put them in the boys' club. I think what we should be doing, yeah, of course, ultimately, is working towards a culture, you know, where we don't need to separate groups. But in the meantime, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with giving the girls their own space, you know, and making sure that they have a chance to thrive and they have a chance to be the leaders of that, rather than putting them in a mixed group where they're at risk of being, you know, treated as a secondary group within that.
So what about the boys, as Lionel's saying?
What about the boys?
Well,
now, I
as
don't
I'm saying,
this. First of all, if girls are good...
Sorry, I can answer your question, Lionel, if you let me talk. The research suggests that actually boys
You've been
do better
talking
in
for
mixed
5
groups and girls do
minutes.
better. That's just what you asked me a question and then you wanted me to answer it, so I was answering your question. The research says boys do better.
No, I didn't ask you a question.
But of course,
it was a
some boys
rhetorical
may wish to
question.
be
It was
in a
my time to
single-sex
speak.
group,
What
rather
about the
than putting them
boys?
in a mixed group where they're at risk of being, you know, treated as a secondary group within that.
So what about the boys, as Lionel's saying?
What about the boys?
Well,
You can search and see that trans men are trying to mess up places designated for men and boys. But let me show you this story here, and there are many more like it.
Because here I am sitting there as a parent watching a perfectly healthy child be destroyed. And there's nothing I can do but sit on the sideline and, according to Justice Bowden at the time, cheer it on. I could only affirm or get thrown in jail.
For the past 11 months, Canadian father Robert Hoogland's now 15-year-old daughter has been receiving testosterone injections by court order. The process began in late February of last year when Justice Bowden of the British Columbia Supreme Court ruled that the then 14-year-old girl should be medically transitioned to a boy regardless of the wishes of either of her parents. While the girl's mother was willing to cooperate, her father was distraught.
This will not change her DNA. She will not become a boy. It can lead to increased heart disease and other risks of that nature, different types of cancers. Because they're going to be stopping her puberty, her bone density will stop right where it is. And I kept saying, no, this is not going to happen. I'm not consenting.
According to the courts, however, Rob's consent wasn't relevant.
The father is a man, a male. What about him? Like, what about the boys? A girl whose mom wants for her to go under the knife and become a makeshift boy. There's no targeting of females here in the sense of it being just about females. That's not true. That dude I showed you, he was put in jail for 6 months for trying to stop it. And he's not the only dad either. More than a few of them been locked up. Now look at this one, and there are a lot more than the two that I'm showing you. Look at this one.
There's been a new development in the Jeff Younger story. He's been fighting his ex-wife for the past 3 years after she decided his son was a transgender girl in a boy's body. She is not the biological mother of James, but she has been transitioning him over the past few years. Jeff took his ex-wife to court, but the woke courts here in Texas gave her full custody and gave her the ability to remove James from the state of Texas and move him anywhere she wanted. Well, January 1st, the state of California, if y'all don't recall, actually became a sanctuary state to transition children. Well, she has picked up James and she has moved to California. The father found out and he went and made an appeal with the Supreme Court of Texas. Now, they made their ruling and the Supreme Court has ruled against the father, Jeff Younger's appeal to prevent her from being able to leave the state of Texas and move him to California. Sad ending, y'all.
Not even the biological mom, but still gets to run off with the dude's son to go find herself a Dr. Frankenstein to try to turn his son into a fake girl.
For those that don't know what's happening with you and your son, do you want to give us the 101?
Sure. So starting about 2 years old, my ex-wife decided to transition my son to a girl. We were still married at the time, and I told her she couldn't do that. She's a pediatrician, and she forced me out of my house, filed for divorce, and then began to really in earnest try to transition my son. She began to present him to the world as a girl. She changed his name without my consent, with no legal basis to do that. My son eventually, at 3 years old, we're still heading towards divorce, tells me that mommy says I'm a girl. So I took the first iPhone video I'd ever taken. And if you go on YouTube, you can find it. Just search for Mommy Says I'm a Girl. It went everywhere. I'm an Orthodox Christian, so it also went all over Eastern Europe, and Russian television got a hold of it. They were all perplexed. Like, they think of the Texas as a Bible Belt. How could it be? How can this be happening in this religious part of the country? So then we get to trial. The psychology community turned completely against me. All of them lied at trial. So far, I've been able to prove all these psychologists have lied, so all their testimony has been thrown out.
What were they lying about?
Whether my son wants to be a girl or a boy. In the initial psychological investigation, they tried to cover for my wife by saying she wasn't trying to transition my son. And on that basis, that I had made a false accusation that she was trying to transition him, gave me less than standard possession time with my son. So then we go to another trial in 2019 after the school started transitioning my son behind my back. So I'd take my son to school and in boys' clothes, they'd give him a dress, make him use the girls' restroom. And it turns out there's a loophole in all the 50 states around psychology that allows psychologists to not inform parents. Parents actually don't have a legal right to the medical and psychological records of their children. I can explain that later. So they used that law to transition my son without my consent. And I found out about it. I filed grievances with the school district. They said they did not violate my parental rights by transitioning my son without my consent.
But let's go back to the beginning. I mean, how does this begin? How did your wife decide that your son, in her mind, why is she saying that your son is actually trans?
Well, I first noticed it when she would put him into timeouts and she'd say things like, you know, don't be a boy, the monsters only eat boys, and weird stuff like this. Oh, yeah.
Father trying to stop his ex-wife from helping the courts transition his son. And you heard the other story too. At first, the wife was against it, but she changed her mind. And now she's with it.
Bro, they getting out of hand, bro. I'm just trying to buy my baby some books, bro. B is for buy. C is for coming out. D is for drag. These are children books, guys. These are children books. Non-binary. Listen, this is picture books. This is picture books. My 4-year-old don't know what the fuck non-binary is.
Hi, I'm Nadine, a sex educator.
And I'm Eva, a sex researcher.
I use the pronouns she and her because I'm a woman, and when I was your age, I used to be a girl.
Gender is how you feel on the inside about whether you're a boy or a girl, a man or a woman. If you're non-binary, feel like neither or both. People can also be fluid, feel more like female, more like male, based on a different day or time. It's really individual.
Absolutely.
Everyone born with a vulva is a girl. True or false?
Or identifies as a girl. Well, not everybody is sure, and that makes sense. But our genitals actually don't determine our gender. So some people born with vulvas can be boys.
Are there not girls and boys in this classroom? Boys being taught that they can have vulvas, and girls being taught that the vulva that they do actually have is just a social construct that they imagined into existence. Because you heard the lady, all you have to do is think that they have a vulva, and so shall it be. Right? So that must be how the girls got their vulvas. They just identified as having one, and it popped up down there like a wart. Boys and girls, male and female, are the targets. And I think that they know that, but they don't care because their thing is male hate. Look at these men. It's the new misogyny. It's the new patriarchy trying to oppress females again. It's like the videos I've done about how Republicans like to blame Democrats for the entire mess we're in. Everything, according to them, is the Democrats did it. And all to sweep under the rug the role that their party, the Republican Party, has played in this mess, and still plays a highly active role in this devilishment. Look at these men. Look what these men are doing to women. Okay, look at these men too, though.
Getting pregnant and having a baby doesn't make me a woman because women don't own pregnancy.
Take note, women. If we assume this person is telling the truth, that it's a man, proves a couple things. One, proves men can get pregnant. Here's all the evidence you need. Sorry, I've been wrong the whole time, guys. I've been an idiot.
Getting pregnant and having a baby doesn't make me a woman because women don't own pregnancy.
We just can't stress that enough. Women don't own pregnancy.
Just like they don't own periods.
Now something else is taken away. You don't own periods. This man told you you don't own periods, so listen to the men, if we're to believe this is man.
Now this doesn't mean that motherhood or womanhood doesn't exist, because it very much does, and it's sacred. And you know...
Sacred. This potentially, satanic influence telling you it's sacred.
What else is sacred too? Trans and non-binary bodies and experiences. And my experience as a birthing person is just as valid as a woman's experience is to motherhood.
Some would erroneously say that is motherhood, but it's different.
And my experience as a birthing person takes nothing away from the experience of a woman becoming a mother.
It literally takes pregnancy away from you, because this person's own words less than 36 seconds ago was, you don't own pregnancy. You thought you did. We're taking that away. It doesn't take anything away from you, except from what we're taking away. Welcome to 1984. We say we're doing the opposite of what we're doing. You can't see that.
Women and girls, females are hand in hand in this mess, in this devilishment. This woman with a beard and pregnant, but there's only an attack on femininity, they say. But what about images like this of what men can be? There's no war on masculinity in this picture, though, right? Nah. I'm gonna show you something, and I'm not even gonna trust blurring it out. Right, they'll still flag me because, as we all know, and this is life, how some can do things that others can't do and can get away with it, while others can't. We all know that. But I'm not even going to blur it out, so it'll be in the description box, and I'm going to call it My New Package Arrived. I'll just tell you what happened after I show you who I'm talking about. I'm not even gonna trust blurring it out.
I'm just gonna crack on with this update. So just to advise you, if you are watching this and you are not okay with seeing nude images, I suggest you switch this video off now. Maybe go and watch another video of mine. I don't know, where I'm not flashing my bits about. So here goes. I don't know why it's best to stand. Do you know what's really awkward as well is that I've had to open my curtains so that I get the best lighting for the video, and now I'm going to stand in my window naked. So anyway, we'll just crack on. Okay, so there's that. Let me just do myself up. So that was done and dusted in what, 2 minutes? Yay! At least I don't have any dressings to do, so, I'm not stood there for 15 minutes with my dick out.
This woman here And I hope you think I'm lying, so you can go over there and find out if I'm lying or if I'm using hyperbole or I'm exaggerating or something. This woman, in the video or the clip I just showed you, this woman is talking about how her new makeshift penis is doing. And she stands up, unzips her pants, and whips it out. Think I'm lying if you want to. Whips it out, squeezes it, elongates it, stretches it out, and shakes it. Turn to the side for a right profile shot, then turn to the left for a left profile shot. No blurs, no happy face emojis to block it out or nothing. It was full on frontal. Think I'm lying? Go see. But it's these men, look at what these men are doing to women and girls, these men. And somebody is going to bring the scales out. As a matter of fact, somebody been had their scales out. That's why I've been using scales on the screen before I even got to this point in the commentary. And the scales are representative of something similar to what's called the fallacy of relative privation. Similar, but not exactly. Like, yeah, here, Dr. Men and boys are being targeted too, but not as much as. It's not as bad as the women and girls are being targeted. Something like the fallacy of relative privation, where something is not as bad as what something else is, then it's classified as nothing or irrelevant. Relative privation. An old example I've used a few times before. Say me and you are siblings, and we've done something that we've been warned not to do. Now it's time for an ass whooping. Mom, dad, whichever one uses the belt on both of us, then sends us to our room. We both cried, and I look over at you and say, hey, shut up, what are you crying for? I got hit 13 times, you only got hit 8 times, so what reason do you have to cry? That's relative privation. So some will acknowledge that this commentary has been correct, but because they're so self-centered and brainwashed into thinking that the world is all about females, they'll use them scales. They hate men and boys just that much. And let me show you how females are also responsible for this mess just like the males are. And do me a favor. Before I play this clip, do me a favor and watch the entire 1 minute and 40 something seconds. Don't click off because you're going to think that it's over before it actually is over, but it won't be. And watch when the dude in green hands off the baton, and particularly watch what he hands the baton off to, and pay close attention to the markers you'll see floating over their heads.
World Relay Championships. It was a slightly watered down field, but still good performance. That was a great leg from Our Lady Pauline to this competition. Dominican Republic still out in front. United States is next. The American.
Well, Bill, the Nigerians have put a male athlete on the third leg, and that is why this green vest is storming away from the women.
Out in front now, Patience Oken-George will have the lead, and everybody else will be chasing when he is on his game. 44-44 to finish second at the NCAA Championships this year. The Dominican Republic into that third spot, trying to hold off Ireland. Nigeria is going to fade to last as the Americans take it in 3.
These misandrists, these demonologists who operate behind the veil of feminists that brainwash females into thinking of that as a challenge or a chance to beat the male. The attitude that's been pounded into the heads of women and girls that there is no difference in male and female, that females could do anything that males could do. When that's not true for either. We can't do everything that females can do, and they can't do everything that we can do. You know what females should start doing? They should have let that dude race by himself. Get out there, do the kneeling down and all that stuff, and when the race starts, just stand there and watch him run. Start doing that, and they wouldn't be too interested in female sports anymore if females would just start doing that, but no. They think that they can compete against dudes in that way. Now the thing was just hilarious. I saw the responses from dudes on here. And not just any old dudes. I mean the supposed men and boy advocate types on here. There was a common census among them. And this common census is one of the reasons why we've been in so much trouble and why this devilishment is growing.
Come on. No, come on. Let's go. Let's go. Hey. Hey. Hey, girl. Come on, Jenna, go. Let's go. Bad girl. Let's go. Keep walking. Keep walking.
The common thing among them was to say, that's women's problem and men should stay out of it.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay. Things are gonna be okay.
I commented on Reg the Bad Guy's video saying that. He was saying that that's women's problem, not ours. So I commented and said, Reg, men and boys are under attack too. And his reply had me just there staring at what he said. He only said one word to my comment, and his one word was, explain. One word, that's all he typed. Did I answer Reg the Bad Guy's request? Absolutely not. And another dude replied to me under that comment and said something to the effect that, that's women's problem, so let's just sit back and enjoy the show. I didn't respond to that either. I just stared at the responses. I just stared at that response longer than Reg asking me to explain. I'm serious. I was just staring at the comments, probably, because I can't see my own face. But probably when I was staring at the replies, I probably had that glazed look in my eyes. You know, that blank look, eyes open but nobody home. I probably looked like that when I was staring at the comments. No, I wasn't going to answer that.
Can you
No.
speak so of your bride?
No way. Because how could these dudes see men and boys out here in dresses and women with beards be the same dudes to turn around and say the trans thing is a woman's problem? Men who I have observed for years talking about the war on masculinity and the attack on manhood and the effeminization of boys turn around and say that that's their problem and they brought it on themselves. Now, did females bring it on themselves though? Hell yeah. But it's not just their problem. It's all of our problem.
You gotta see this. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to end it right there when I was talking about the men saying it's not our problem, it's women's problem. But when I was editing the video, I heard me say something that I need to correct or something I need to make clear. His wife, when the report says she was willing to cooperate and I said she was with it, that sounded like I meant she was pro-transition. Well, what I should have made clear is that she's cooperating likely because she don't want to go to jail like her husband did. And who knows? Who knows? He might have even told her to fall back and he'll bite the bullet. Who knows? But that's all, folks.
All right, then.